Sun's up. Um, there's two ways to look at the world. Didn't work. One is very literal. It's the way that we're taught in school to just see the physical. As far as I know, your eyes aren't going to see the spiritual. People have seen, like ghosts, whatever. That's Nephilim, spirits. As far as Jewish study, like Hebrewism goes, in the Bible, there aren't ghosts on Earth, human ghosts, but there's tons of Nephilim, and they not enough smoke. They are trapped on Earth, sealed here. So are the the fallen angels. Some of them are trapped in the firmament because they were too powerful to be left on Earth. Mankind wouldn't have stood a chance. Some of them are buried deep in the ground. That's what Serb's looking for. Again, too powerful. Mankind wouldn't have stood a chance if they had been left to their own devices on Earth. But there's a bunch because we're strong enough to maintain against those ones, especially with the real angels down here protecting us and stuff like that. And I don't know about you guys, but I've had personal angel protection in my life. No other way to describe it. So, when you read a book, on the other hand, that's where you can see the spiritual. When you go to sleep and you dream, you're actually connected to the spiritual. When you're in your imagination, I think that you can be connected to the spiritual. And not actually in your imagination, but in something else. Gaining knowledge. A writer can write a paraphrase. I've done it. I wrote a small book series, children's books, and where I said a speech that a character was going to say in my mind, and unfortunately I don't type fast and couldn't type it fast enough to re-say it properly and to remember, probably has a lot to do with this, to remember exactly what the words were that flowed out of me. But they weren't my words. At the time, I didn't realize it. I thought they were. I was arrogant. I was just tapping into something else in history, time. Relativity, Einstein's relativity, is count to two. 1, 2. Doesn't seem that long. Now, go turn your stove up on high and put your cheek on the burner and hold it hard and count to 2 once it's already red. Like preheat the burner right up full blast and then put your face on it and count to 2. It's going to seem like forever, right? You wouldn't even be able to do it, but I mean, even putting your hand on it and trying to count to 2. Even putting your hand on that lighter and trying to count to 2. You know, the time is relative, right? It's relative to how you are and what you're doing. So if you're just sitting around bored, time can drag on and on and on. If you're in a lecture with a teacher who's boring, not engaging the thought process, time can drag on. Sometimes when I'm engaged in a thought process with a teacher or a sermon, my mind can trail off, and by the time it comes back, hour went by, 2 hours, whatever, a long time can go by. I do these little videos all the time, and I never know what I'm going to say when I turn the camera on. Really, I don't know where it's going to go, but I mean, I never really run out of things to talk about. I usually run out of film because I'm working off a shitty camera. It sucks, really, because I have like an external drive and stuff like that, but I gave away my computer and most of my possessions, but especially my computer, because it was a window to sin. And so anyway, so I work all these videos off my camera. I can put, 4 of them on there at a time. Then I got to delete them. And Rumble, for some reason, every time I try to upload onto Rumble, I get an error. And like I was saying, every second or third video on YouTube, I say something wrong, and it won't be, it's not allowed to go up, right? But I still got to delete it off my phone, so it's just gone. It's still up here, but it's not out there for somebody else to maybe discover it. I've learned all these different things over like a half of a lifetime of study, or a whole lifetime of study, really. But I mean, so I can paraphrase a lot of it, maybe so that people can understand it differently or whatever. I don't know. So when you're reading a book, you can read the literal of what that writer wrote in the moment, but there could be a metaphor there. There could be a whole other true story there. That even if it was an imaginary story to him, it could have been something that might have already happened in history. And again, everything's relative. We're very mathematical, and we're trapped inside this closed system of mathematics. But that's relative to us. God's out here. So that rather than being closed into this thing, like, he can open it right up and lay it out in front of him, and multiply and change and whatever he wants or needs to do. So he can open your mind, connect it to a timeline, connect it to a dimension, and let you feel and see what's going on there like you were there, even though you weren't there and you're not there. You're sitting at home at your typewriter, but you're tapped into something greater. And you don't even, like a lot of writers might not even realize it. A lot of them are probably arrogant and think that it's themselves, right? Read back through their own writing and feel like, wow, I wrote that? That's neat. I didn't know I was that profound. Well, you're not, dummy. You never were, and you're still not. You're an open conduit. The night my aunt died, I had a dream about sitting down with her and having this big conversation with her about her family and stuff. And it was an aunt I didn't get along with. I did a video about this before. I had just become a Christian. I had gone home from a big house party or whatever to go back to sleep by myself, and I was an open conduit in our family. Her and I never got along. She was very Christian, and I was very heathen. So we were worlds apart. And I had just freshly gotten saved. Well, like I said, I was at a big house party. I was hungover and went home to go sleep on the couch for the day. And anyway, and then she was able to jump right into or grab me out of my body and take me to give me that message. And that's the reason I did the video on this, was because she took me to the sorting pits that are spoke of in Enoch. One of them. And that's what it seemed like. I don't know. I'll know someday. But that's what it felt like I was in. That's what it seemed, looked, felt. At the time, I didn't realize that. At the time, it just seemed like darkness, but it just a warm, loving, comfortable abyss of nothing. But with an education, with some knowledge, I was able to link it up to what I think, where I was taken. Anyway, open vessels and open conduits can be used, utilized, and tapped into to give us all a message if you're an open conduit and ready to receive that message. Yeah, I think I might be done talking about that. Anyway, yeah. I've been studying a lot of books, different writers, different authors, same characters, similar characters, a thread of a character from this story to that story. And now, obviously, like, writers are there's going to be remnants of other writers like Shakespeare and the Bible and everything, right? Because it's something that we all study and know or whatever, right? So you're going to notice that kind of, like, those kind of threads sometimes. But other times they're more subtle and never spoke of in the book. When Metatron is in a story, he can have a different name and a different shape multiple times in the same story, but definitely in different stories. So he could be Magdalene or something over here and be Jonathan or something over here, and then be, I don't know, whatever, James, and then, and I'm just grabbing names. I'm not referencing anything. I'm just grabbing random names that I'm trying to think of. It could be Stephen, it could be anything. So he can be anybody. He can be anything. He could be a dog or a cat or he'll be what that person in the story needed. And he'll refer to himself in a subtle way. And then never ever come back to it. And just, you have to know him in order to see him. Right? So then you'll know if you're reading the right books or not, too. Because he'll come to you through the book, I guess. Be weaved in, just like I said. God weaved him into that person's mind, and then it weaved him out to thousands of minds all over the world, or whatever, hundreds of Christian minds who were open and willing to absorb the knowledge, the information presented. I don't want to give too much away. Just start reading. Look for books. Start praying. Knowledge, wisdom, and discernment. Understanding. Knowledge, wisdom, discernment, understanding. Those four things sound the same, but they're very, very different. And you need all four. You can't have one without the other. Right? Like peace and holiness. And love. There's a fourth one to go with that too, and I'm just not thinking of it. Probably blessing. But I don't think it is. But it might be. Blessing. You need everything to have blessing. But peace and holiness and love. And there is a fourth thing that goes with those two. They actually go in 4s and up to 12, and then there's an extra one to make it 13 things that you're supposed to pray for every day. All character building, life building, real things, not money, and but though money is in there, or wealth, and happiness and stuff like this, right? But that's not what it's. Only accepting that through a biblical standard. Only wanting that money if it's through God's means. You don't want it if it's any other means or methods. It has to be a fluid blessing through something that a hippie could say, wow, man, it flowed through the universe, right? But no, it didn't flow through the universe, dude. God did it. Sorry, I just did a satanic symbol there. I didn't mean to do that. I promise. I promise, it's not me. Hide my hand. Ow. Funny. I just talk with my hands a bit. Not like Steven Crowder. You can tell he's a Frenchman. Big time. He's always talking with his hands. And you can tell that he's pissed off all the time. Holding it back. I really respect that. He holds it back so well. Doing those change my minds and things like that. And the frustrating people that he has to deal with. I don't answer a lot of comments. I try to. I read them all. I appreciate them all. I don't want to get into answering them all. I'll interact with them through the video. I'd love to do a back and forth with somebody. I do love that. I do that on Facebook a lot. Tons. But it gets frustrating doing it on Facebook. Doing it on here, it can get frustrating and overwhelming in your mind and make you angry. And especially seeing it everywhere, right? Because it's, even though he's closed and minded to half of what's going on in the world, he's seeing half of what's going on in the world, and it's fucking frustrating. It's infuriating. And he's been talking about it since he was a kid. And so the composure that he keeps through it all, and he still is able to maintain himself, and he doesn't ever do. And you know he wants to. I could tell that he wants to. You could see it in his hand gestures when he's talking, and then he'll calm himself down. And that's when he really wants to start poking at the camera. And it's not all the viewers that he's yelling at, obviously. It's only a small portion. But we let that small portion run the world for some reason. Like right now, the South Park called them liberal babies, or PC babies. The PC babies going around crying about everything. It's like 5 people. 10 people started with, and they've just whined and cried and bitched loud enough and long enough that they've gathered this following. Charlie Manson gathered a following. You know, I'm sure if YouTube allow it, I would probably gather some sort of following eventually. It's not, everybody's got a little of something for somebody, or whatever, for a certain group, you know what I mean, that are going to be intrigued by your thoughts and your presentation. Bigger group for some people than others, that's all. But yeah, anyway, I lost my train of thought. That's why I need somebody to argue with. Like I was just saying, that's what my train of thought was. Don't worry, I got someone in there. A couple of them. They're always fucking arguing with me. Bastards, they never shut up. I said shut up! Yeah. You talking again? Oh, it's me. I said shut up. I paid to see a high diving act, and I'm not gonna see a high diving act. Remember Bobby? Or Billy? I don't remember.
My mommy, she likes to sing songs to me at night. She sings, hush little baby, don't say a word. Mama's in the bayou, a mockingbird. If that mockingbird don't sing, then grab it by its feathers and rip out its wings.
Howie Mandel did a whole thing. He actually got a TV show based on that character. I think it was Bobby. It's funny. My voice is cracky and old now, but I used to be able to do it. Almost perfect Elmo voice. Elmo and Billy, almost the same voice. Pretty close. Pretty close, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm out of things to say again. Just shooting my mouth off now. But yeah, anyway. Always 2 sides to the coin in life. So try to read between the lines when a message is sent to you. The messenger might not even realize that there's lines to be read between until after he's said his message.